Chiefs news, analysis, and opinion every day. After 2 years of very subpar play from the offense, at least by Patrick Mahomes' standards, the Chiefs this offseason, Brett Veach, the front office, Andy Reid, etc., have poured some real assets into the offensive side of the ball, attempting to shore up first that offensive line and then getting some more playmakers for Patrick Mahomes to dish the ball out to. But there was something very interesting that hit me the other day when watching training camp. I believe it was training camp day 12. There is a miniature version of what I am going to say in this video, I believe, in training camp day 12. So if you did see that, prepare to not be surprised. But something hit me as I was watching the tweets come out about the running backs. Isaiah Pacheco catching a 50-yard bomb. Brashard Smith, 40 yards downfield again. Kareem Hunt getting into the receiving world, something that he lost in his time away from the Kansas City Chiefs, and we will see a little bit about that in a moment. And though Elijah Mitchell has not been particularly strong in the receiving department thus far in his career, he has measurables stunningly similar to Brashard Smith, a former wide receiver himself. He is a very fast running back. That is going to come into play as well. But I was looking at that, and I remembered, Kareem Hunt was here for that magical 2018 season. And Kareem Hunt was a very integral part of the receiving core for this Kansas City Chiefs. Very big in the passing game. And also, if we're talking about anomalous seasons from a running back catching the football, that 2022 was really good for Jerick McKinnon. They basically, since Brashard Smith was drafted, everyone has been saying, oh, well, this is the new Jerick McKinnon. They're trying to get themselves a Jerick McKinnon. Why? Well, because Jerick McKinnon was very dangerous, maybe not running the ball, but receiving in that 2022 season. 2018, very anomalous year from a running back. 2022, very anomalous year from a running back. Well, 2018, Patrick Mahomes happened to win the NFL MVP. He's only done that, one other time. Well, it was in 2022 when Jerick McKinnon was catching the ball out of the backfield. Let's look at some of the statistics from Patrick Mahomes. And really, if you were going to force it out of me, I would say that in that 2018 season, the Kansas City Chiefs were 1 inch away from winning a Super Bowl. One player lined up in the neutral zone, and it cost the Kansas City Chiefs a win against the Patriots. That is exactly what happened. There's no ifs, ands, or buts to that. That play was meaningless. It was an incompletion, right? And the Patriots would have been off the field. The Kansas City Chiefs had the ball with the lead. They would have won the AFC Championship game. I believe they would have won the Super Bowl that season as well. And in 2022, the Kansas City Chiefs were very close to hoisting the Lombardi Trophy, right? Oh, no, they did win the Super Bowl in 2022, which means that both of these anomalous seasons, I think the Kansas City Chiefs would have had a very good ability to win the Super Bowl. In 2018, Patrick Mahomes went 12-4, 5,097 yards, 50 touchdowns. That is an incredible stat line worthy of an MVP. 2022, Patrick Mahomes went 14-3, 5,250 passing yards, 41 touchdowns. This year, he added some rushing yards as well to get himself the NFL record for rushing plus passing in a season. That coming from a quarterback that is not known as a runner, but he can run the football. Now, let's look at those seasons from Kareem Hunt and from Jerick McKinnon, because there are some other things that stand out there as well. For Kareem Hunt, that season is right here. I don't have the years on here. It would have made the graphic too small, but 378 receiving yards on 26 receptions. That is a 14.5 yard average per reception for a running back and 7 touchdowns with a 67-yard long. That is an incredible. That's wide receiver 3 material in most offenses. That's wide receiver 1 receiving touchdown numbers in most offenses. I think, so we'll get into this a little bit later, but Kareem Hunt is not the fastest guy on the field. Never will be, right? I think what makes him so dangerous in the receiving game is not the fact that he's fast, but the fact that he has such incredible balance. I think that is what separates Kareem Hunt from other running backs, is his balance. He hits a guy that's his size or bigger, he has the balance to just fall forward. But when he's out there in the secondary, and there's guys that he's outweighing by 30 pounds trying to tackle him, he's going to make their day very, very long. That is what Kareem Hunt can do as a receiver out of the backfield. But it didn't stop there for those 2018 Kansas City Chiefs. If you look at I'll have a video later tonight about the wide receivers and how destitute some of these teams have been that Patrick Mahomes was commanding. The running backs for that 2018 team, 7 running backs caught passes. 7 running backs caught a pass, not carried the ball. 7 running backs caught a pass for those 2018 Kansas City Chiefs that totaled 950 yards. Nearly 1,000 yards of receiving production from the running back position. So you fast forward to Jerick McKinnon in 2022. That season is right here. He caught 56 passes for 512 yards. That's a 9.1 yard average. Not an incredible average, but that's a lot of receptions. That's a lot of yards, and it is a whole lot of touchdowns. He had 9 receiving touchdowns in 2022, did Jerick McKinnon. That is an incredible amount. Nearly half of his career receiving touchdown production came in one season. He had 20 career receiving touchdowns. He had 9 in 2022. That same year, 5 running backs caught passes, and there was 726 total yards of production from the running back position as receivers. Now, there's something that I wrote out. I took the time, took a little bit of thought process, and wrote this out word for word, so I want to present it here. It may sound a little more stilted than normally I do. Allow me the time, I beg of you. Mathematically, the offense is always at a disadvantage when it comes to targets. There are 5 offensive linemen and a quarterback. That is 6 total players versus the 4 defensive linemen for most defensive fronts. That is a 6-4 difference, which means that the offense is left with 5 offensive targets, and there are 7 defenders to cover them. That is that advantages the defense greatly because the defense can double 2 targets on any given play. So when the Chiefs had a 2-headed monster receiving with Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce, they could double up both of those players and leave everyone else in one-on-one, and it would work. Now, in the era of zone coverage, offenses have had to try to evolve in the absence of having star players, because star players don't do you very much good when they are double covered. So you have to try to evolve into a place where you are taking advantage of the numbers in general. The Patriots dynasty is emblematic of this. They one time with Randy Moss, they really had a great big go-to wide receiver. Gronk was a different animal. Tight ends still have not been caught up to by the NFL because I think, in my opinion, there are so few of them that can really do the thing, right? Gronk, Kelce, Tony Gonzalez, they're always going to be anomalous because of their size, speed, catching combinations. There's no real impetus for NFL defenses to evolve to fit the tight end position because there are so few that can do damage in that way. And this current leg of the Chiefs dynasty is very much the same way. No star wide receivers. Tyreek Hill left a long time ago, and the Chiefs have been to the Super Bowl ever since. But the defense is at a disadvantage. If the offense is at a disadvantage with numbers, the defense is at a disadvantage as far as levels of the field are concerned. A defender cannot be in the backfield prior to the snap of the ball. The Kansas City Chiefs know this because of that 2018 season. And in such, they cannot cover players in the backfield at the snap of the ball, and it does not advantage them to try to do so because what they rely on is if there is a pass to someone in the backfield, the defense swarms up to it. But if an offense has the speed at running back to try to challenge that swarming, things get very interesting very fast. If you have a running back that is faster than the defense can swarm up to that running back, that nullifies their attempt to nullify the receiver in the backfield. Well, let's just look at that. Isaiah Pacheco runs a 4.37 40-yard dash. That's faster than most corners. Kareem Hunt, well, his 40 is good enough. We'll just leave it there. Elijah Mitchell runs a 4.35 40-yard dash, and Brashard Smith runs a 4.39 40-yard dash. If you were leaving that player in the backfield, if you were taking that player and putting him out in the flats, if you are running a swing pass with him, a swing route with him, he has the advantage in that situation. He's going to take that corner. He's going to take the edge of the defense. Another weakness of zone coverages are players popping up where they aren't supposed to be. This sounds nonsensical, but most defenses are predicated on basically halves of the field. A cover two coverage is when a safety has a half of the field, the other safety has the other half of the field, at least in the deep part of the field, right? So when there's a person in your zone, you are paying attention to him. That player leaves your zone, so a corner has the flat in a cover two. That player runs out of the flat, right? He's covered right here. There's a player, an offensive player, in the flat. He covers him until he leaves the flats. Then the corner is looking where else he's going. But you don't cover grass, you cover men. That is what you have to do. So more often than not, when a wide receiver drifts out of a corner zone in cover two, the corner follows. Because likely someone is going to be the wide receiver's running deep, someone else is going to be flooding into the zone that was behind the corner. Now that is the corner's responsibility. It's not all that common for an offensive player to cross the center's face. Very difficult to cross the center's face because of all the traffic in the middle of the field, which makes it very effective. And it is exceedingly rare for an offensive player to cross the opposing tackle's face. So if you're lined up on the right side of the formation at the snap, it's very rare that you pass the left tackle's face, right? You cross his face. That's very rare. That's why Rashee Rice on those drag routes was so effective. He would clear that opposing tackle's face, and he was basically always wide open because he, quote unquote, was not supposed to be there. If we are looking at this backfield, a player from the backfield is not expected to be 30 and 40 yards downfield. They are unexpected in that area of the field. Because of that, it is easier for them to get receptions down there, but it's more difficult because a lot of running backs run in the high 4.4s, 4.5s, even some 4.6s. Plus, they don't necessarily have the receiving skills. these running backs are going to be able to be 20, 30, 40 yards downfield. If they can catch, look, a 4.3940 is an elite time for a cornerback. Outside of Kareem Hunt, that's the slowest Kansas City running back. 4.39, the slowest Kansas City running back. These guys will not be covered by corners most of the time in the NFL. They will be covered by safeties and linebackers. If 4.39 is an elite time for a cornerback, how fast do you think it is compared to most linebackers in the NFL? Guys, the Kansas City Chiefs are heading for an absolutely explosive season of football so long as Patrick Mahomes gets the time behind center to let these running backs get downfield, to let Rashee Rice cross the opposing tackle's face. And I think those things are going to happen in this offense. I think that Josh Simmons' presence is going to allow Patrick Mahomes the time to really open things up, let it rip, and the return of the receiving threat running back in Kansas City is nigh. That is all I have for this video. If you like or appreciate what it is that I do here, hitting a like button really does help me out, as it tells YouTube to share this video with other Kansas City Chiefs fans. If you find yourself here by chance but not design, the Chiefs are the only thing I talk about on this channel, dropping multiple videos every single week. There's been a daily upload for over 2.5 years now, and as always, I hope to have you back for the next one.